Come on, brother, sister. I just want to hug you. No drinking involved.
Hey guys, MasakoX here. After a very brief vacation, even though the fact I'd put out videos anyway because I made them in advance so you wouldn't have noticed any difference anyway, I am back with another What If for you. Now that I've followed up on a couple of the older stories after having waited months to actually follow them up, I'm now going back to one of the newer stories, which I actually consider one of my recent favourites. It explores something rather unorthodox, something I wouldn't usually tackle, but I thought I would anyway just for the giggles. I mean, okay, not as unorthodox as the whole what if Frieza turned good or anything, but no, that ain't gonna happen. I'm talking about the idea of what might have happened had Bulma decided to take on the challenge of converting one of Dr. Jiro's most ambitious experiments and turning it into the ultimate ally, complete with creepy bug powers, transformative abilities, and it'll go down well with the kids because, come on, it's a creepy 7-foot big bug monster. And what I'm talking about, of course, is what if Cell turned good. Granted, there is a little bit of a technicality involved here because the Cell, Perfect Cell and all that, never turned good, and never did in this scenario because he was already programmed from Dr. Gero from another timeline, he was already corrupted with Frieza and King Cole's DNA, so there was no real redemption for that character. So as a result, this Cell we're talking about isn't the one we're talking about. But there is another one. The one that we're talking about here is the embryonic one from the present day. Something that Bulma took and was able to suppress the Frieza and King Cole DNA, making this Cell much more malleable, amiable, and less likely to want to conquer and destroy worlds. When you throw in nurturing into the mix, this Cell is a completely different animal. Really quite excitable, childish, all thanks to the nurturing and influence of Goten and Trunks as they grew up together. In the last part, Cell, now known as Android 21, because Bulma wished to try and distance this Cell from the other Cell, and also the Android 21 was unbeknownst to the group at the time, had recently matured into its imperfect form and was thusly much more mobile and willing and ready to explore the wider world. This Bugman was in a whirlwind of emotions. The excitement of being able to see Goku at the upcoming tournament, having to learn the wider ways of the world thanks to his new master Piccolo, and then having to deal with the real harsh reality that his siblings, 17 and 18, wanted nothing to do with him. That's not enough. 21's getting some very odd looks from the Supreme Kai and Kibito, who are naturally at the 25th World Martial Arts Tournament, and keen to try and warn the group about the upcoming menace of Majin Buu. We start this episode of the adventures of our favourite Bugman as everyone's getting about as to what the order is going to be for the tournament. The biggest omission from this time around is that Krillin doesn't take part in the tournament. And this is down to the fact that he was already in two minds about whether he wanted to continue with martial arts or not, so in this scenario, there is a way and an influence that he chooses to not do so and properly retire. And so therefore, he gives his place to Android 21. Thanking Krillin for giving him a chance, Android 21 gives Krillin a big bear hug in thanks, and the little guy is getting a little bit crushed by the big guy. Suffice to say, one of 21's things is giving people bear hugs. But let's get back to the story proper though. There are quite a few differences in the order and rundown of the actual tournament. It means that there are a couple of big changes. One, which is the lesser of the two, is that Android 18 doesn't initially fight Mr. Satan, but instead Pintar, which I think we can safely say 18 wins convincingly, barely having to do anything. So who's going to be fighting Mr. Satan then, the champion of the world? Well, again, it's none other than Android 21. You would think that Mr. Satan will be able to handle himself now that he's the world champion and had so many big book deals, movie deals, and all this thing, time to be the world champion, but nope. The big champ himself is really in two minds as to how to handle this situation. Like with many other people, he's having to come to terms with the fact that he's about to face off against an 8-foot tall big bug guy. You know, with a face that only a mother could love, and have you seen his tail? Well, actually, it's probably best that you don't see the tail because it would horrify most people. And yes, Mr. Satan is fully aware that this Bugman isn't the same Bugman that took him out and embarrassed him all those years ago, but the similarities are there still. And not only that, he's having to also understand that he might genuinely lose because this guy hangs around with those guys who are really strong, and he had to talk about all the dirty tricks they were pulling up to appease the media. Yeah, he's not sure whether this person will actually toe the line and let him win. Be that as it may, the champ has a reputation to keep up. He can't let down his fans who've come all this way to watch him win the world tournament again. So he puts up his dukes and faces off against Android 21. He grits his teeth and starts to attack, leaving 21 completely puzzled because all of the punches and kicks that Mr. Satan's doing are doing nothing.
Are you going to attack and take this fight seriously? Mr. Satan? Hello? Okay, we're doing this.
All of Mr. Satan's attacks are not making a dent on 21. Trying to brave the pain, Mr. Satan is continuing the fight with one eye closed, really apprehensively, thinking that he might just be able to do it if he's just brave enough. 21 is really beginning to get bored now, so instead of actually just standing there, he decides to pretend that the fight's getting more and more intense, which goes down well with the crowd and the announcer. He's going,
"Oh no, Mr. Satan, you are going to beat me this time if I'm not careful! Yeah, no, that's blind!"
Thanks to the hammy bravado that Android 21 got from hanging around Kid Trunks for all these years, he's able to pull this off very well. He isn't, however, willing to give up the fact that he might be able to win his first ever match in his first ever tournament. 21 is keen to impress Goku, whom he can sense in the crowd. 21 finishes the deed and knocks Mr. Satan out of the ring. The now ex-champ is unsure of what just happened and how he managed to get out of this ring almost unscathed, but the one thing that he's now having to think about is what he's going to try and explain to the fans later on. Up in the crowd, 17 and 18 are watching completely unconvinced of what 21's doing. 21 is trying to convey that he is not a monster or a creature that is really devious. He spared Mr. Satan from getting really injured and just knocked him out, simple as that, following the rules, being a good boy. 18 and 17 just do not respect the merciful act that 21 was doing and continue to think that this guy is scum. Everyone around them starting to think that 17 and 18 are just being spiteful just because. Even Krillin's starting to think that, shouldn't you really give this guy a chance? He's trying really hard to be really with the team. The tournament continues with Piccolo taking on Shin, the Supreme Kai, and it goes down as it does in the original story, with Piccolo taking the fall. But 21 isn't fully aware of why Piccolo took the fall. He genuinely thinks that Piccolo was defeated, so he rushes up to his master and asks him whether he's okay. Piccolo is fine, and then explains to his pupil the actual significance of the Supreme Kai, which blows 21's mind, having not really understood that there are other people from different planets out there. After having blown his pupil's mind, Piccolo then goes off to tell all of the rest of the Z-Fighters the significance of the Supreme Kai as well. But at the same time, 21's in the background giving over-exaggerated commentary going,
"He's the boss of the universe! I mean, can you believe that? That is so cool!"
Bulma's just rolling her eyes and just thinking, 21 is so like her son, it's uncanny. Then we have the subsequent tussle with Gohan, Spopovich and Yamu with their shenanigans once again getting the energy from the young Saiyan, and then most of the gang are off in hot pursuit to try and stop them before they reach their master Babidi. Naturally, 21 is rather keen to actually help out, but Piccolo, as everyone's starting to leave, tells his pupil to stay behind and continue to take part in the tournament. Of course, 21 doesn't take this well, and thanks to his childish ways, he has a bit of a tantrum before Piccolo slaps some sense into him and tells him to control himself, stating that the Bugman has clearly shown that he's not ready to handle this responsibility. He orders 21 to stay behind, or else no one will ever trust him ever again. Naturally, Piccolo knows how exactly to push 21's buttons, so the Bugman complies, albeit reluctantly. Despite missing out on one fight, little does the Bugman know that he's about to be embroiled in a completely different fight, which is a little bit more emotional and cerebral. 21 and 18 are going to end up in the final because they are now two of the strongest people competing in this tournament. This pleases 17, of course, because he's keen to have her sister show this monster who's boss, now that he's in the stands with his newfound family. Understandably, this fight is pretty fierce because 18, now for the first time in forever, or actually ever, is able to actually unload her post-trauma angst thanks to what Cell did to her in the past. Now 21's just a proxy. And poor 21, he isn't prepared for all of the actual force that 18's unloading on him. All of the anger, all of the misery, all of the stuff that completely disrupted her life, she is now wailing on 21. Even though this 21 has nothing to do with Dr. Giro and was completely innocent and brought up by Bulma, Trunks and Goten and all of that, It doesn't matter right now. In 18's mind, this cell is vicariously responsible for all the stuff that happened to her and her brother all of those years ago. As this is all going on, 17 notices something. 18 is crying as she's punching, kicking, screaming, actually trying to get any kind of damage on 21. This is the most visceral and primal emotional outpour that he has ever seen from 18. However, 21 continues to stand at the ring, holding his own, now completely bewildered at his sister's fury. I mean, yeah, he does know about what happened in the past in a different context, but he still just doesn't get it, if you know what I mean. When she actually can calm down enough to speak calmly, she then states that, really, no matter what he tries to do, he will mean nothing to her. In fact, he doesn't even deserve to be referred to as a he. It is a monster. It will never be welcome amongst them. 21 then tries to get down on her level, stating that he is aware of the future Trunks timeline where she was evil and destroyed pretty much everyone on the planet. And here now, she has proven that with the right circumstances and the right nurturing, that anyone could become good. So why doesn't he get the same treatment and chance to show what he can do with the different circumstances? You know, he kind of senses that there are double standards, but, yeah, if he thinks that this will actually appease 18, he's got another thing coming, because this makes 18 even angrier. She charges furiously at 21, but 21's able to dodge her, and she's about to fall out of the ring thanks to her complete berserk rage, but thanks to 21's tail, he's able to drag her back into the ring. She instinctively thinks that 21 is trying to choke her, but no, he actually kept her in the fight. 18 then just stares at him and just states, why? Why did you do this? Why? Not like this. No. After that, 18 regains her composure and the fight starts anew. 18 manages to win the tournament by knocking 21 out of the ring, and she then does something that she thought she would never do with the Bugman. She offers a hand out to actually pull him back into the ring after the fight's over. She then says something to 21, but isn't actually looking at him as she's saying it. You know, I still don't trust you, but I think I can begin to tolerate you. At this point, 21 is just happy to take this. It's progress. Krillin is impressed with 18's sign of maturity, but 17, he's not impressed at all. After 18 is given the prize money and trophy for winning the tournament, everyone settles down, and the remaining Z fighters head off in pursuit of where Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta went off to try and see if they can help. When they get there, they are stunned to find that Kibito and Piccolo had been left there, turned to stone. And understandably, since Piccolo's now been turned to stone, this shocks and horrifies 21 the most, who tries to go over to the Namekian, the Namekian statue now, trying to wake him up. But Krillin stops him, saying that if he's not careful, he might knock him over and shatter him, and then he'll never come back. He doesn't think that Namekians can regenerate after being turned into stone. Krillin feels that something bad must have happened here. He can't sense Popovich or Yamu anymore, but neither can he actually sense what's actually going down below, because it's quite clear that the ship is there, but nothing's happening. But then it hits him. Where are Goku and Vegeta? They're not here even though they were just a second ago. They're back at the tournament grounds again. The whole Majin Vegeta thing is happening. Meanwhile, the androids, 17, 18, and 21, descend down to the bowels of the ship and then spot Gohan as he's about to take on Babidi and Dabura. Gohan then reveals to 21 that it was Dabura that turned Kibito and Piccolo into stone, and naturally, this angers the young Bugman, who is keen to take on Dabura in an act of revenge, and Gohan's not about to stop him. The two of them together take on Dabura, who's having trouble taking on two strong opponents at once. Meanwhile, 17 and 18 are trying to apprehend Babidi, but it's too late. Thanks to the energy being pumped out by Gohan, 21, Dabura, Goku, and Majin Vegeta, the sealed ball is about to be opened, and Majin Buu will now be raining his terror down upon the Earth. And I think that's where we'll leave things for now. So what do you guys think? Do you think the androids will be able to live together somewhat cohesively? Do you think the Bugman will actually be a worthwhile contribution to the fighting things at hand? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!